Good evening, guys. How are you? It is Sunday night, and yes, it is a bit earlier tonight for the UK viewers. I think I've timed this right for the US side of things, the same as always. So if someone can let me know, we've had a time change in the UK, which always confuses things for me. So we have been starting half an hour early for the last couple of streams. For next week, I will probably start dead on the hour, so half an hour later from now, which is earlier than it was last time for the UK audience, but the same as it is for the US. So, first of all, catching up on the chat. Good evening, Floor. Did I see Floor Flyer? Did I see? No, I didn't. I saw DIY FPV. I did see Floor Flyer. Hello, good evening. How are you? Banco Banshee, how are you? Jory, Craig, hi, Rob. Hope you're well, everyone. Mike Bergman, hello, 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 hello. It's 1:30 p.m. in WA State. Is it? So is this earlier than normal, Mike? I can't remember. Leo, good evening, good evening, good evening. So there is a lot to talk about, and there's a lot. What a 24 hours for me it has been once again. Again, when you just say how it is, people either like it or they go and get all upset, and we will talk about that a little bit as well. We're obviously going to talk about this because it's in front of me, and I'm going to explain quite a bit more about my thoughts on this, because I didn't talk about certain things very specifically in that video. I wanted to address my disappointment with the product as a whole. But what we will do tonight is we will talk about it as an action camera. We will talk about it for FPV specifically as well, because as I said in JB's stream tonight a little bit earlier, my comments in that video are not strictly about FPV as a whole. There is more to understand on the FPV side of things. Don't think for 1 minute it's perfect, but with FPV, it is about balance, and what you have to decide is the pain worth the benefit on weight? And I will actually have a dedicated video on FPV coming. I have flown this, nearly 10 flights on FPV. None I've recorded well because the weather has been shocking here in the UK for the last 24 hours. I've literally been skipping out between flights. It's been insanely windy here today as well. We're in the middle of a storm, but I have put some flight time on it, enough for me to understand from an FPV point of view, and we'll talk about that. And we'll try and address some of the things about you're holding it wrong. And that response, for those who don't know, was a response to the iPhone gate when the antenna signal was going down when people were holding it. And whilst that was genuinely really a lot of noise over nothing, I don't feel for 1 minute this is. And I don't feel for 1 minute anything that I've said and anything that others have said is out of order, because frankly, nowhere in the manual, the marketing or the reviews did it say you can only use this outside, and we will come on to that. So we're not going to talk about it first. We will talk about a couple of other things first as well. Now, as always, guys, as much as anything, this is a Q&A stream as well. So if you've got any questions, you've got anything you'd like to know, please do ask. I will try and answer it. As always, it's always time to get the shilling out the way as well. So if you're new here, welcome to the channel. Please hit the subscribe button if you'd like to support us. We do have a Patreon and we have a Buy Me a Coffee. And let me just find it. And this is something I'm going to shill a few times today. We also have our own Discord server as well, which is this one here. And if you don't know, come over and say hi. It's there really for me to just post a lot of nonsense on. And the real interesting thing about this, for those who haven't seen this, I was talking a lot about these issues long before the video went out. Literally, as soon as I got the camera, I was posting a lot of this stuff. And I was showing about various other things that I've got going on as well, testing the pins on the camera, talking about the data rates on the recording. So if you are interested in checking it out, there is a link to that in the description as well. Now, as I've said, what we will do first of all is we'll cover a couple of other FPV related things first before we get on to the DJI camera, and we'll have a catch up on them and get them out the way first. But as always, what we will answer any questions that people have up as well. Now, I've got my cup of tea, as always, as I do on the live stream. Just catching up on the chat. It's wild out there, DIY. It is really bad. I had actually flown today in this as well. Is it gooder than the go-to peanut? What you've got to take into account is it's not about better or worse. None of these cameras are the same. So it's almost pointless comparing them. What you have to weigh up is the compromise you're willing to take for each product. So, for instance, the compromise on the GoPro is the size. The compromise on the DJI we'll talk about is power and recording time. And the compromise on the Peanut, for instance, is image quality and a bit of both of those things. And that's what it comes down to. Everything is a compromise, and you have to balance what best suits your needs from an FPV point of view. And that's the reality. So we will talk a bit about some of the comments that I've had as well. And I have had a bunch of comments that you are holding it wrong, or we're not getting issues, or you're only meant to use it outside. It's an action camera. It's not designed to be used indoors. It's not designed for vlogging with. It's not designed for doing things like filming yourself inside, or filming yourself in a car, or filming yourself playing tennis inside, or things like that. No. It's an action camera, you idiot. Things like that. But we'll talk about some other stuff first of all. So, Rob, good evening. How are you? Of course, all DJ shows didn't mention the overheating. I do wonder with that, and I will address that because I don't think all channels out and out lied. And I do wonder if there's been a game of bait and switch here. And what I think this highlights more than anything is channels not being clear about what is pre-production, what is final, what is release. Because there is a big difference between a product that you've had for, there's a couple of channels that have said, we've had this a month and not had problems. Then you've not got a retail product because it wasn't available then. So that video should have said pre-production model, just like a lot of the camera channels have. If you watch a review on camera channels, they will say, we've been given this pre-production model by Canon and Panasonic. And the drone press, which I am part of, we all need to grow up a bit and realize when we are reviewing things, we need to be clear about where it came from. Was we paid to make this video? Was there any incentive to make the video? And was the product factory, early release, beta, pre-production, release firmware? Because this is why you get issues like this. Because many of the channels may have genuinely not had a problem, but they may genuinely not have the same firmware that we have on production cameras. And that is the reality. That is the situation we find ourselves in. Someone put a comment that did annoy me, which was, why is it you people always have to go negative? Right. Well, you can take that both ways. Why does everyone else have to go positive? This was not about being negative. This was about the truth and nothing else. And we'll come on to that a bit more in a minute. Early tonight, BB Junkie, it is a little bit. Do I think the overheat will be fixed in firmware? No. I think it's physics. I think it is how it is. And I think they knew this. Frankly, they could not have. And I do think genuinely many testers who had it early did not have them shut down. But if you were someone who was putting a conspiracy hat on, you could argue that, well, what's to stop a manufacturer sending out a product with a firmware that doesn't shut down and then putting the release one with one that does? Does it matter if one product that you've sent for review samples burns out in a month? Does it matter? If they're asking for them back, no. Even if they're leaving with them, you can't argue, can you? And I'm not saying that has happened, but what I'm saying is there is a huge amount of possible manipulation when you are dealing with pre-release product compared to final release that has come off the shelf. And that is it. And as the drone press needs to learn, we need to grow up a bit more in this and be a lot more clear with users about what we are talking about, what we are showing them, and that this may not be the same as release. And this is where I have a huge amount of respect for the likes of Gamers Nexus and the computer industry, who are totally independent. And I am. And that's a nice position to be in. It doesn't mean I can be involved in everything, but when you are independent, there is no influence. Is given honest review, especially when we see... Is giving the honest review... let's just see, what's David? Let me just go David Walker. I think it's fair to say, take two different UK channels. Yours, I said it worked fine outside of the channel, says each issues are the same outside and inside. So it's not always easy to figure. Is giving honest review, especially when we see no evidence. Yeah, it's hard to say, you know. This is the thing. So we will talk about it in about 20 minutes. What we're going to do is cover some stuff first. And we'll just cover some of the things I've seen from FPV this week. And it's only 2 things, so it won't take long. And so we'll get on with that. So the first one, and it's a bit of an update on this, and this is the new Runcam Split HD air unit and module camera that's coming soon. Now, I did talk a bit about this last week. However, Runcam have now put out some footage. If you don't know what it is, it appears to be a Runcam camera with a board which attaches to the Vista. This board will record footage as well as send the image to the Vista. Runcam put out a video on this earlier in the week, so let me just put it full screen and play it, and they are saying it records at 1440p 60 frames a second, and what they're showing you here is the image compared to what's recorded on the DJI goggles. Now, it's really hard to show from this footage how good it is. We'll have to wait and see. But what is really interesting is that we are going to have another DVR option. And what is interesting is, as you can see, look, there's a little overlay of a red dot to show it's recording. Now, this does open the question, will we see a version of this with additional OSD options? Because there is nothing to say we could not have a board that adds the OSD before it enters the air unit. Could we see OSD via this? I don't know. Runcam haven't said. I did reach out to them and they simply said it's going to record, and they released this video at the same time. It is extremely interesting. Some people won't like it because they're saying, well, it adds more weight, but the air unit adds more weight. But it is going to be very interesting to see how it performs. I can only guess that it has a MIPI pass-through to go from there to there. I'm guessing there's just a little ribbon cable that goes between the two. We don't know if it does sound. We don't know anything other than what they have shared here. It does open up a whole world of possibilities, and I am looking forward to seeing this one because I do think it's really, really interesting. I really do think it's interesting. They didn't share a release date with me, but it's coming soon. I was told not long at all. Not long at all. So I would expect it to be before Christmas at this moment in time. I would expect it to be before Christmas. So that's the news on that. And I said, it's nice to see the footage. And yeah, interesting indeed. Very, very interesting. It's good to see some innovation happening in the DJI FPV system still. I personally think it would be really cool for them to give full OSD options on this. Even if it doesn't look as tidy as, say, the DJI OSD, it would be very, very interested. GMI question, will it cost compared to the AU? We don't know. There literally is zero details other than it exists. We don't know the weight. We don't know the size. Well, we know the size. We don't know the weight. We don't know what other features it has, how you control the camera, what settings there are. All we have is the image and the little bit of footage to say that it is coming soon as well. And the fact that it records in 1440p 60 frames a second. So let's hope it doesn't mean the end of the DJI unit. The only thing I am thinking in my head is, have Runcam and Cadex been told the DJI Air unit is coming to an end and they're trying to come up with a solution? Who knows? The theory is this should work with any camera from DJI. We don't know that it will, but it should work with any of them. But we're going to have to see. If the camera's 720p, well, it's interesting. Is that camera 720p or is it a 1080p camera? That then opens up some more questions. And could this be the first low latency camera from Runcam? And again, what we don't know is what effect that will have on latency as well, putting it between it. There's a lot of unknowns, but it is interesting. And we're going to have to see how it pans out on that one. Now, as soon as I do have info on that, I will ask and I will try to let you guys know. As I said, I did reach out to Runcam and they gave me a very, very small amount of info, but pretty much the same thing that they put out to the public, basically. Drone Solutions said it'd be nice to see this for HD0. Absolutely. It would be fantastic to see this for HD0. And let's be realistic, it shouldn't be that difficult. If they've developed it once, what's to stop them doing it again? 100% agree on that. I just have this horrible niggle in my head that could this mean the DJI Air unit is coming to an end? I just have a niggle because it's a lot of effort that Runcam are putting in and you do wonder why. I could be completely wrong on that. I've got no base for that. But the second you do see something, you just wonder, does it mean something else is happening? Who knows? I don't know. I've not heard nothing, but you always get alarm bells when you see that. But we will have to see. Certainly interesting, that's for sure. Okay. The second thing I want to talk about is this. For those of you who haven't seen, this is the new upcoming Jumper T Pro radio with built-in Express LRS. Now, let's be realistic. It's not exactly a new design, is it? It has a lot of DNA in this from a number of different radios, including the DJI one and the TBS, Tango 2. There is a huge amount of DNA, let's just say, in this. However, it does look very interesting. You know, it has built-in Express LRS, and the only thing I did think was a bit weird was the talk is of it having built-in 900 megs Express LRS, or 800 or 900, which I'm not convinced. I'm shocked they wouldn't have gone 2.4. I am shocked it's not 2.4. If we look on the back, you know, there's a lot of DJI inspired design here. The rocker switches, the buttons on the shoulders, the antenna. It really is. There's a lot of DJI DNA in this as well. SD card is there, look, nicely placed. But yeah, very interesting. And it does look like it has a nano module bay, but they're saying it's got 900 megs built in. So I don't get the reason they've chosen 900, if I'm honest. I don't understand that bit at all. That doesn't make a lot of sense to me whatsoever. But it's clearly coming. It's clearly around the corner. I haven't actually seen this video yet, so this is just showing over it. You can see the two batteries in the back there. So if we just, let's expand this out, just so you guys can see it as well. So obviously it's running OpenTX. We've got buttons along the top. We've got, what else are they showing? So we've got the batteries on the back under these rubber covers. You got the bay. Yeah, you know, it looks an interesting radio. We don't know any pricing. I've not seen anything like that. But yeah, interesting indeed. USB-C port. Bay on the back. Comes in a nice little case. So we're just going to have to see, really, where this ends up. I am confused, though, over the 900 megs Express LRS. I would have much preferred 2.4. It should be 2.4. 100% agree. It really should be 2.4. I don't get me wrong. I get people wanting 900, but you can do that as a module. Why it would be much better to put 2.4 in, because that's the reality for 99% of people. That is the most common they want. It's not exactly a radio for long-range flyers, if you get my drift. It's not exactly a radio for people flying 35 kilometers on a wing. It's really an FPV radio, and an FPV quad radio is pushed for 2.4, and the guys are going to want the 500 hertz, not the limited to 200. So we're going to have to wait and see, but it's interesting. It's certainly, it's an interesting design. There's a lot to like. I don't know if I would use it daily, but I'll probably get one of these in to have a look as a review sample, to put one in to talk about, because I do think it's interesting. I never ended up getting a Tango 2 because I just simply couldn't get them in stock, but I would be tempted on that. Yeah, I just wonder, GMI, of how long, the benefits for 900 for most people are minimal, aren't they? Do you know what I mean? Not most people don't like, don't need that range, I should say. Not don't like that range. Don't need that range more than anything. I think it's going to be about £100, $100, but we're going to have to see. We're going to have to wait and see. But yeah, interesting. We saw it this week, and I couldn't help laugh at the design, if I'm honest. There is a lot of cues in that from others. But yeah, it is interesting as well. Right. Before I jump on to the DJI camera, I want to very quickly talk about one last thing. And I'm just going to find the page a second, because I put it on RC Groups as well. And this is something I said I was going to push. And that is the Flow State movie. If you guys don't know what this is, it's a movie or a documentary that's been made involving various people from FPV, including Mr. Joshua Bardwell. And they've been working on trying to get this available for people to watch. And it is going to be available to stream from Monday, the 8th of November at 6 p.m. via the Golden Gate International Film Festival. Now, the movie is there's a lot of people in it from FPV. If you're interested in FPV, I think you'll be really interested in giving this one a watch. Costs about $15, I think it is. There is a bit of an extra fee. None of that goes to JB or the people behind the film. That entirely goes to the film festival. But once you've bought the ticket, you can actually watch it between the 9th and the 14th. It is on Monday the 8th at 6 p.m, which is the premiere. However, you can then watch the film anytime between the 9th and the 14th of November. And it is available to get as well, so it is worth a look. JB has a video on it. If you haven't seen it, I'll pop a link to that in the after show notes of this one. It could be worth a look. I'm going to be watching it myself anyway, and yeah, I think $15. Look, JB is trying to get this film out there. I'm really interested to see what it's like, so I'll be really interested to watch it myself. So please support it. Worth it, $15. Check it out and see what's said. Okay, catching up on the chat. I'll be paying $15. Mike, can't wait. I've seen Flow State in the UK Drone Fest and it was great. Quite long and a bit tailored towards Americans with remote ID content, but well worth the watch. Anyone wondering if they should. That's fantastic. Eat your veg FPV. Take a look at AliExpress sales picture. Great. Cool. Brandon Beans at mid-show DJ video. I breached $900 in favor of the small, faster 2.4. Still long range. And that's the funny thing with Express LRS. The 2.4 is still long range. It is still really, really long range. It really is. Might not need range for penetration. Yes, I agree. But it still has pretty good, doesn't it? Really interesting. Okay, one last thing quickly, and I keep forgetting to mention this. I have another EP1, and I have had this under the microscope. This is a Happy Model EP1 for those who watch the video on Express LRS while we're talking about it, and that has been under the microscope. I'll put the video up about it in the next week. This one is better than my first one. I'm not going to say it's the best quality receiver I've checked so far. What I will say is there are no manufacturing defects in the sense of all components are correctly soldered. The board looks as it should. There is still some components not quite soldered straight. However, the receiver looks to be correct. I haven't fired it up yet. I haven't tested it, but it certainly looks better quality than the other ones. I do also have a couple of others coming directly from Happy Model because they did speak to me. Haven't tried it yet. Things aren't perfect, but it's not anything I'm worried about, if you get my drift on that. So much better overall. What I would say is the Happy models don't appear to be the best quality of all of the receivers, but they are somewhat the cheapest. The Flywoo was really good. I will say that. The Flywoo was very, very good indeed. Okay, so I suppose I'm gonna wait for half an hour on this. Not half an hour. I'm gonna wait for 3 minutes because I want to start this at the top of the hour. And I didn't hit record at the start of the stream, neither. And I wanted to record those bits I've just talked about as well for the little clips at the end, so I've forgotten then. We're going to talk about this at the top of the hour. Good evening, Mark. How are you? Yeah, well, the time zones have changed in the UK, and I've gone a bit earlier. Flywoo had a couple of not straight components on. Yes, it did. It just seemed a little better, the quality overall. The best one of all of them, and I haven't done the video on it yet, but I have looked, is the Namimno. I can't even say the word. The Namimno. That is by far the best quality of all of them. But this one looks fine. You know, from the most part, it will be fine. Yes, it has been very wet, Mark. It really has. So, I just want to catch up on one thing. There has been a super chat by Eat Your Veg FPV. Never managed to catch your streams live. Got to bed 9 p.m. early, but love it the next day while supposed to be working. Thanks, Ian. Massive thank you for the super chat, Eat Your Veg FPV. Really appreciated, my friend. Thank you very much. I was thinking about buying the phone for Newbie Joan for the goggles. Yeah, seen a few people with that. I don't really complain about the foam on goggles that much. A lot of them don't fit well. I just look at them and fly with them and carry on. There's light leak, but it doesn't bother me. I don't care. I know there's a lot of people who sit there looking, they want it completely dark, and I get that. I don't really get fussed over it. I've got a set of Fat Sharp. My Dominator V2's a terrible light leak. It's I can download it, BB Junkie, don't worry. I can get it off YouTube, but I preferred to record it locally, but don't worry, it's not an issue. Rained most of the day here in Yorkshire. Yes, it has. So it's 9 o'clock. It is time to talk about this, the DJI Action 2. So let me explain a few things on this camera first of all. I bought this with some DJI credit that I had left and some money. It was a combination. I'm going to be completely clear with you guys. I ordered it within about 3 minutes of it going live, and it arrived the following day. Really fast, actually. The shipping was amazing. The box was huge. I don't know if you guys saw the picture I put up, but it was absolutely massive for such a small item. But it arrived the next day and started playing with it. Now, as you guys know, I put a video out complaining about the main problem of this device overheating. Now, I buy an action camera for many, many reasons. Not only to take it outside and strap it to a drone, but if I'm doing some filming in here and I want to overhead there, or I want it strapped on the side of something, or I want to do something in the car or somewhere in a location that might be outdoors but static, might be indoors but static, but not one single use. Now, if we go to the DJI website, and I'm going to pop this up a minute, nowhere does it say on this website that this camera is only to be used indoors. Sorry, outdoors, and not suitable for indoor use. Nowhere does it say this camera will get really hot if you use it indoors and you will have limited functions. If you look at a lot of the marketing, look, it's strapped in a car. Oh, she's holding it. Okay, so she's filming inside a car. We'll take down to here. We'll go a bit further. If we look in DJI's range of pictures, that looks strapped outdoors, but static. He's got it on a stick. He's inside doing some exercise, static. It's there sitting on a rock, static. It's there inside looking at an exercise bike, static. Oh, that looks like the inside of a dashboard of a car, potentially quite static. So there is multiple things here where this camera is going to have issues. Now, I'm going to talk first of all about what this camera does well, because I didn't do that. That wasn't a review. That was me complaining about the problems. This camera has a really nice size and shape and weight. Almost perfect for FPV. Very good for general use. It has very good image quality. It's not quite GoPro, in my opinion. However, it is very, very close. The GoPros always tend to have the legs on everyone. They do tend to be just a bit better, just a touch. It's very good, but I do feel the GoPro is slightly better from a noise point of view and the overall IQ. The Rocksteady image stabilization is decent. It's not as good as GoPro's, but it is better than we had before. It does have some quirks that it's not quite as smooth in flight at times, and I'm trying to get some footage to show that because I haven't got some of that specifically I'm able to show because of where I was flying. I'm not going to post that up. But it is very good. Not quite GoPro good, but it is good. However, where there is good, there is bad. And from an action camera point of view, I have some main issues with this. And the main issues are that the case and the design isn't great for average use. The fact they've made it out of aluminium means you can't really put it down on anything that's not flat. There's no rubber on this at all, right? So on the module or on the unit here, there's no rubber. There's nothing on this, if I go on the overhead, to stop it falling off. So unless you put it on something completely flat, it just wants to fall over. You put it on a rock and it wants to slide down. There's nothing there that offers grip. Now, that can be sorted in a case, but it's not on the Action device itself. From a design point of view, I also have two issues with the glass on the front and the screen on the back. The screen on the back is end-to-end, which means it's very, very likely to get smashed if there's any form of bump on the sides here. And this side here is asking for trouble. It's a very large glass area, and this could smash, and it's non-replaceable. It's that simple. So there are some issues around that. Now, whilst they are concerns that you may be able to address and solve with cases, the biggest issue is going to be the heat. Now, being 100% clear, outdoors, on a windy, cold day in Wales, it doesn't overheat. I can't comment for Australia because I'm not in Australia. I can only comment for where I am, and in Wales, it won't overheat outdoors. It tends to hold its own. However, indoors, in a 19 to 18 degree room, there is no mode on that camera that it will not overheat in apart from the special 1080p mode. Now, if you don't know what this is, and this is a hint they knew about this, under the modes, if you scroll across, there is a 1080p power reserve mode. It does not overheat in that mode, but everything else, it overheats in my tests in that environment. Okay? Now remember, I only have the option for normal power. I do not have the option for the high temperature threshold because they have locked it out. I only have standard. That is all I can base my tests on. So any environment where this camera is not moving through cool air, it is going to overheat, whether that be in a room, whether that be strapped on the side of a car dashboard, trying to get off the menu, whether that be, I'm going to turn it off a minute because we're going to do a little test while we're doing this. Anywhere hot, anywhere that there's not moving airflow that is cool, it is going to overheat. Now, it comes down at that point of how long you intend to record for and what you intend to be recording. If you are intending to do 2 or 3 minute clips, then you will actually be fine because it takes a few minutes to overheat. And I'll go through the numbers again in a minute. It takes a bit of time to overheat. But if you're going to want to be recording high resolutions for anything more than a few minutes indoors, you are then entering a situation where it is potentially going to overheat and let you down. You've then also got to take into account the cool-off period and the amount of record time you will then get. Because the other thing to take into account is if it lasts for 6 minutes before overheating the first time, you have either got to wait for it to completely cool to get another 6 minutes or give it 5 minutes and get another 2.5 minutes. So you've got to understand that there is a workflow that will affect you here. It's not as simple as just how long it will take to overheat the first time, but how much you can use it consecutively from there. Now, I'll answer questions in a minute, guys. I'm just going to roll through this bit. So you need to understand that. So from a general action camera point of view, it has limitations. There are many people that has come to me and said, but you're using it wrong. It's not designed to be used for indoors. It's your fault. Why are you complaining about this? I am going to make this clear. Nowhere does it say in the manual you can't use it indoors. Nowhere does it say on the website you can't use it indoors. Nowhere does it say it has a recording limitation. Nowhere does it say it will overheat. Nowhere does it say you will not get the same performance in the UK or EU than you do in other countries. That bit about that menu being hidden is buried in the instructions. That was not made clear. Now, I have no complaints about the issues in this camera as long as they were made clear up front. That was my issue with this. This is not the fact as much that the product overheats. If I'd have known that, I would not have ordered it. My biggest complaint is that this was not made clear in reviews, this was not made clear in marketing materials, and there's not just me, there are many of us who have gone out and got this product and suddenly gone, wait a minute, this isn't what I was expecting. And I don't really think companies and DJI understand how that feels as a user when you buy something and you are just gutted out the box, because it's like, well, hold on a minute. Another thing I'm going to say is I'm not convinced people really understand how hot this gets if you haven't held one. It is frighteningly hot. It is scarily hot at times. So hot you cannot comfortably hold it in your hand. That is the truth. And I'll tell you what we're going to do, because before I move on to using it for FPV, I'll address some of the questions, because FPV is different and I do have a different take on it on FPV. But what we're going to do is we're going to take it off and we're going to set it to record. We're going to choose. What should we choose? What shall we choose? Let's choose a reasonable frame rate. Right, I want 4K. I bought this as a 4K camera. Okay, 4K 30. Let's go 4K 30. It's a nice frame rate. So we're going to hit it on. What's the time? Where's my phone? Let's get the timer running. Let's see how long it takes. It has not been on. It is room temperature. Get my timer up on my phone. Reset. So what I'm going to do is you guys are going to have to keep an eye on this for me and warn me when it overheats. Because what I'm going to do is hit record. So hit start and let's see what it does. So that is my issues with this camera. I do not accept anyone telling me I am using this wrong. I would accept that if the instructions had made it clear up front. Okay? That would be fine. I have no issues having limitations on a product. Oh, I forgot to start the time. Oh, no, I didn't. It is running. I have no issues with a limitation on a product as long as I know about it. The issue is we were not told. And that is where the problem is. Now, I am going to talk about this for FPV in a second because it is a different scenario and I do have a slightly different take on it. And there are some things you need to take into account. And not all is lost for FPV. And in fact, there's some good here for FPV. But we'll talk about it in a second. Catching back up. Is it waterproof in Welsh rain? It is apparently. TPU. Why don't action camera manufacturers all make them replaceable glass lens? That is a fantastic comment, GMI. I don't know. You know, this product has no replaceable external bits. DJI should make a different camera name to Osmo Action 2. DJI could have called it Togo Mini Action. DJI could have stated on the first version that it made it okay. They could have really marketed this as for, we've made this with, you know, if they'd have just said, look, here's the truth. We've made it as small as possible. We've made it as light as possible. We've made it waterproof. We've limited the external connectivity on the main module to make it as small and light as possible. But look, you're going to have to try. You're going to have to use this differently. You're going to have to understand that there is a trade-off. I am not stupid enough to not think. I know why there's an issue here because of its size and shape. But they just didn't tell us. We should not have to assume it. We should be told up front. That is the truth of the matter. It's not about it's limited. That's fine as long as we know about it. Mine's going back, I start. Does it overheat? Erico, yes, it does. I need to make a case for it. Now, I have a case here, which we'll talk about in a minute. Surprised they didn't develop Osmo Action, which I presume has been pretty successful. Yeah, it's a bit strange. How dare I start? Good evening, Bruce. How are you? The more I learn about DJI, the more happy I saw my DJI gear and went to Fat Shark Divvy Math. Look, they are what they are at times. I was even disappointed in this one, to say the least. The simple fact is there's an option in the menu to overheating shows there's a problem in the hardware that should never have made it into production. That is a very Drone Solutions. You know what? That is a very real point. You know, let's be realistic. They knew about this because that option is there. It's just reality. Jumping down the chart. Had no overheating whatsoever on drones, including Sinew, but overheating when in nerd mode. I bought it for FPV only. Now, Craig, that's a very good point, and I am going to discuss FPV in a minute because there's a completely different take for FPV. And guys, what you have to take into account, my comments in my video the other day and the start of this is about as an action camera because I buy things for multiple uses, but we will talk about it specifically for FPV now. Ian, you're using it wrong, GMI. So the GoPro Hero 3 then only works in the middle of a freezing cold winter. Can't imagine the camera 40 Ds. I can't imagine this camera in 40 degrees day in summer. And that is the question. How is it going to be in the 40 degrees of summer? That's getting warm. Where's my infrared thermometer gone? I'd be interested to know what it is. Why can't I see it? Oh, it's on my bench. Couldn't see it. Just intrigued what it's at. What are we? 4 minutes in. So we're going 4 minutes so far. 38. 39. Yeah, we haven't hit 48 yet. She will hit, well, 40 on that side. It's always hotter on one side as well. You know, just to show you guys, to show I'm not lying. Just to show. There you go. Oh, can you see? Sorry. I wasn't looking at the camera screen. There you go. Depending on where we stick it. So she's still going at the moment. She might go 6-7 minutes in this one. Watch it not overheat now. Oh, it will. It will. I'm more than comfortable knowing it'll probably take about 6.5 minutes because I'm at 4K 30. I can't remember what it did last time. I think it was around 6 minutes. I didn't check it was empty of footage, so it could even run out of space, actually. I should have done that. My Runcam 5 never overheats. Okay, so sweet extra. So yeah, so that is my take on it. I don't accept that, as I've already said, that I'm using it wrong. If I'd have been told about these issues, I'd have been happy. Now, I will address a question that someone's asked in the chat. Am I returning it? I have already said I am. However, my initial intention was to return it instantly and make no more content and be done. However, I'm having a lot of people ask me questions, so I'm now at the stage of this. I've been using this a little bit more than I probably should have. I'm not even sure if they're going to take it back at this point. I've got some stuff I want to finish on it first, and then we'll see what happens. There is a possibility I may end up keeping it for one specific purpose, but we're going to have to see. We're going to have to see. So, the next thing we're going to talk about this in is this. The DJI Action 2 with regards to FPV. And we'll turn it around that way, and I'll tell you when it stops so you guys can see it. Now, this camera has a different set of issues for FPV flying than it does for general use. So, to be clear, I have done a number of tests, and it has not overheated in FPV flying at all. I see no reason it will overheat in FPV. The issues you face in FPV are not heat, but actually power and recording. Now, the positives of this camera are that the fact that it is small, lightweight, ideal size for FPV, has great image quality, good image stabilization. Again, it is my opinion. It is not as good as the GoPros, but it is very, very close. There is no gyro data though on this camera, so you do not have the option of doing post-processing stabilization, and that is a big shame. Cool, we've hit 7 minutes. Ow, it's getting hot though. So it does not have post-processing stabilization. I have some real concerns about the case design of the unit made from aluminium. As I've already mentioned, any hit or smash, you're going to break the screen on the back or the glass on the front. Whilst you can have a case that offers protection for the screen at the back, that front glass is always going to be available because it has to be open to the air, and there is a risk factor with that. Now, as I've already said, there is no real issues with this in FPV flying for overheating, but there is issues with battery life, and there is issues with recording time. So, addressing the battery life question first of all, this camera will last on the internal battery about 20 minutes. It will give you about 20 minutes of flight time. Now, today, we don't have any options for external power, but you can power this camera externally, and I have already pinned the connector out. So, for instance, if I just jump over to the desktop and show you guys this, and I'll just put this full screen, this is the power input on the bottom of the camera. You can power it off 5 volts, and it will take about 700 milliamp hour. That will not only charge the battery, but it will also maintain the battery in flight as well. In my tests, it will charge the battery when not recording and maintain the battery when you are recording. That pin there is ground, that pin there is positive 5 volts. Now, the power issue can be solved. There isn't a case for this today. However, there will be cases for this in the near future. There will be situations where you'll be able to pop it in a case with pins, and that will power the camera via an external BEC. There's even cases coming from Tilter. I don't know if you guys have seen these announced. Let me just find them. It's still going. Where is it? There are cases from Tilter for this as well. Let me just see if they got a blog post. Oh, was that it there? Sorry, no, I've lost it. They put a blog post up showing some... Oh, there we go. It's overheated. Let me put him up. There you go. She stopped. What did she hit? Let's have a look. It's cooling off quickly. 44 that side. 44 that side, and it did did a bit longer, actually, because I need to take 10 seconds. Or yeah, it did actually did. Well, it's done a good 9-10 minutes, that time. 9-10 minutes. And it used, because the battery was fully charged, to give you an idea, 25% of the battery. So that was roughly nearly 10 minutes. I can have a look on the exact thing. Just under 10 minutes and 25% of the battery. So, but in full recording, I've noticed it's about 20 minutes of full use. But there is brackets coming from the likes of Tilter that will offer power for the camera as well. I'm just trying to find, here we go. Found it. There's some new brackets coming, which these, I'll be honest, some of these look fantastic, but they are going to be huge money, huge money, because it's Tilter. They've got this one with a USB-C input. They've got these lock ones. So yeah, there's going to be stuff coming for this camera. Okay. And Small Rig have some stuff coming as well, which looks quite nice. So there is some stuff on the horizon. So we can solve the power issues on this camera for FPV. We can power it externally. But that then still leaves the issues of the footage of this camera, taking it from the camera to the module or exporting it to your PC. Now, just to give you guys an idea, I've put a chart together that shows how much footage you can record on this camera. So let me just go to Google Drive, because I haven't actually got this up. Actually, I'll bring it up on my Discord just to show you guys, because that's where I've put it. So just to show on the Discord, you guys can't see it. Actually, that's not a good view, is it? Let me find it on the desktop here. I'll put it up so you can see it properly. There we go. I created a file for it specifically. Okay. So, as you guys can see here, let's get in nice and close. This is what you will get on the recording. So, 1080p 30 uses about 210 megabytes a second, which will give you about an hour, 107 minutes of recording to the 22.4 gig of internal storage. 1080p 60 will give you about 50 minutes, 1440 30 about 56, 1440 60 about 32 minutes, and then in the 4Ks it's 37 minutes for 30p, 26 minutes for 60, and then about 20 minutes for 120. Interesting, there's not a lot of difference between 60 and 120 in my tests. That's just how it comes out. So that is how long you will get from the internal recording storage that is on the camera. The camera is fitted with 32 gigs of memory, but just like an Apple iPhone, you don't get 32 gigs. You actually only get 22.4 gigs. Now, even if you recorded in 1440p 30, you'll get about 50 to 55 minutes of recording time. For most people, that's okay. The next then is how you transfer it off. Now, that will take about half an hour to 35 minutes to transfer to this module with the SD card. On average, it takes about 1 minute for 1 minute of footage for the transfer in 4K in my tests. 10 gig, it took about 14 minutes of transfer, and I did do a 20 gig test and I gave up knowing how long it would take because it just took too long. So the issues for this camera in FPV are not overheating, they are the workflow of your footage. We can solve the power issues, not today, but in due course, you will be able to solve the power issues. The question then comes, can you deal with the amount of recording time that is available via the internal memory? And if you can't, are you going to be happy to wait for it to transfer? Do you bring a PC with you? The reality is, if you're someone that's flying a few flights for an hour and you're happy with 1440p, then it's fine. You'll be all right with it. However, if you're someone that's doing, 4 hours a day, this could be really painful to your workflow. And that's the bit to understand. PC transfer is about 55 megabytes a second. So a 4 gig file took around 2 minutes. Much, much faster to PC. Much, much faster. But If you're doing it to the module, it's quite slow, and that was with a fast SD card. That was a U3 SanDisk Extreme. So for an FPV point of view, this actually is well worth considering. What you have to weigh up is the options around the storage when we have external power. Today, though, you're going to be limited to 20 minutes or so via the internal battery, and that's the bit you do need to take into account. So for FPV, all is not lost. Overheating isn't an issue. Power can be solved. The limitation is the onboard recording. And the cost, obviously, because it isn't cheap. But as I've already said, and you've got to take into account the fact that it doesn't have post recording stabilization, because it doesn't do them as well. I haven't got any FPV footage to show. I've flown it in extremely horrible conditions in a specific place where I don't record footage or show footage from because it's private, and that's an agreement that I have. I've been waiting to get it out on when the weather's been okay in the last 2 days, which it hasn't, to show you guys some proper footage, and that's what I'm waiting to finish. I've done all of the tests for my own purposes. I just need something to show you guys. The way the stabilization works is okay. Wing users may like the Horizon Steady feature as well, but remember, Horizon Steady doesn't work in all of the modes. It is limited to 1080p. You don't get it in 2.7K or 4K. Don't think you get it in 2.7K. We'll have a look at that in a minute. You don't get it in 4K. But Rocksteady is available in all the modes, and it's decent, but it's not quite as good. It's not quite as good as GoPro. As I said, even when I've looked at the footage, it's close, but GoPro always tends to have the legs. It always tends to have the legs. The reality of the situation is this. If you were buying it for a quad use only and you have no intention of using it for anything else unless you want to go surfing, then it is potentially worth a look. It really is, because you still can't get away from the fact this form factor is really nice. Now, if I just show you this case that I downloaded on the overhead, I downloaded this one as a TPU case. This one I printed for my tests. It's just a TPU case that splits at the bottom, goes like that. You put the camera in, and it just offers some protection around the sides. And then the nice thing is then you can just pop it in, push the bracket through. It's not, can't quite see. Where am I? Not quite forward enough. There we go. And it does fit on the quad very nicely. Let me just do this up. I will put a link to this. It does keep it warm, but it still doesn't overheat. Floor. I did try that. This isn't the best design. I would like to see some more brackets with holes or gaps down the side. Actually, what would be better, now I've done him up, is some cases with like air being channeled in and around it, basically. I think it'll be fine in all FPV flying from heat. It's been fine for me. I don't think it's going to overheat in flight at all. I think in my tests it hasn't. I think most areas, even in the very hottest areas, it will be fine in flight. The overheating, I really don't think is a factor for FPV use. It is for ground use, but not for FPV use. I put it in TPU. Yeah, I actually ran it in this today to see how long it lasted. Now, there are some concerns, like with this case, that is a big chunk of glass at the front, as those of you can see. Look, if we, you know, as you guys can tell, that is a lot of glass. It's asking to get damaged. Maybe a good ND filter on the front will help. A good ND, fat shark, like shark gills, yes, just something to allow the air to move through. You know, this is one of the very early cases. TPU sits on it, does move a little bit. It'll offer a bit of protection, but it's not going to be perfect. But that glass is up front, and this case doesn't have any protection on the back as well. If I had one, I'd have one where it was blanked off on the back and open at the front. But again, I do wonder how much we can bring this in on the front and tighten it in. ND filter just means you'll have 2 pieces of glass to replace. Potentially, yes, Bruce. So, really, look, from FPV, it's a viable solution once we have power. Or buy 5 of them. But at the end of the day, it's going to come down to your workflow and how much you can cope with that 22.5 gigs. That's going to be the bigger issue. Power will be solved. Power will be solved. We will get that soon. As I've said, we've already pinned it out. That's the thing. So I have a very different opinion on this product for FPV use compared to action camera use. That is the reality. 1 on battery in the SG module solves the official offload problem. Yes, you are correct. Duck me squee. You are. 2 cameras does solve a lot of the problems. Yeah, unfortunately. That were only $800 because you can't buy the camera module on its own neither. We have a case with an ND filter available. Free STL in a few days. That's cool. Creators Cup. That's very cool. There are some cool cases. I can't remember who I got this one off. Thingiverse. Look, not all is lost. Really, really, really. From an honest point of view, from FPV, not all is lost. But it's really, you know, how much value is there in just a camera for FPV for you? For the guys who do a naked GoPro and only use it for flying, then actually I can see a few people hopping over to this. I can see that happening. You know, so anyone who's done a naked GoPro or a modified GoPro and they only use it for FPV and nothing else. And look, we know there will be modifications available for this soon. You know, just to show you, there's no screws on this camera. There's nothing. It must be glued together. I was tempted, right, to say to people on the live stream, if you guys give me, if I get $400 in donations, I'll take it apart. I was tempted to say that. If someone pays me $400 so I don't lose my money, it will strip it down. £5 to send that camera back. Thank you, Steve, for the super chat. Massively appreciated. So just to show you guys, there's no screws on this. So this camera has a glass screen that goes all the way around, edge to edge. So any dinks here, it's ping, it's done. That's broke. That's a goner. On the sides, we've got the antenna bits, just like you find on an iPhone. You go around, you got the pin section at the bottom. There's some like little notches here where it latches in. And then you got the microphone hole on the side. And then you can see the front plate goes all the way around. No screws, no nothing. And then you got another microphone hole and an LED. So to get this off, I'm assuming this just comes forward. That's what I'm assuming. This will just come forward. So this isn't to say this camera isn't repairable. It's only going to take someone to release a glass front for it, and we will have options. So never say never on this. You know, you might lose your warranty or your repairability, but there isn't to say it. Just turn it on, it'll release easily. Yeah, that's quite funny. There's nothing to say there won't be options on this on the future. You know, for the guys finding it in quad, you're not going to care if it's fully waterproof or not. So there may be a solution. There may be options. Even recasing. Be interesting to see. Now, something that I haven't addressed in this video, and I'm just going to move the quad out of the way, is my one last major concern with this product with regarding this heat and the longevity. And this stands for FPV. This stands for all of the use. As you've seen, this product can get in temperatures in excess of 40 degrees C. I've seen it basically at 50. There is a 1S internal LiPo in here, and that is being subject to not only fast cycling, because remember, I've already said to you guys, it can be used only for about 20 minutes, but that LiPo is being stressed to 20 minutes and then subject to high heat. And I genuinely wonder how long before we start to see battery problems on this camera. I could be wrong. It could last forever. However, we are all technical people here. We all know how this works. We've all seen it. Would it last even 12 months, as GMI has said? And this isn't just scaremongering. This is physics. This is, we all know the score with this. If the outside temp is 50, how hot is it inside? What are the temperatures that pack is being subject to? And that is where I personally have some concerns. And it gets really hot in charging as well. It does get really hot in charging. It's not hot, but warm. Sorry, it's not hot, it's warm. It's a special high temp LiPo. And I just wonder, and I could be wrong, we could see no issues with the LiPos at all, but it is a genuine concern of how long is that battery going to last in real world use. And we're just going to have to see. We are just going to have to see. But it's certainly screaming in there. There's no question. Now, the other thing I will mention, and this isn't really a criticism of the design or anything like that, mine doesn't seem to be charging properly, and I need to understand more. I have put this on my group. I am finding that if I plug it into USB-C and leave it, and I left it overnight last night for those who saw the short, I come in this morning, it wasn't fully charged. I don't understand why. The charger works fine, but it still wasn't fully charged. The camera module was, but the battery wasn't. So I don't know what's going on there. It feels like a firmware bug. That's what it feels like. But we're going to have to see. We're going to have to see. So, look, that in all essence is my review of this camera. If I'm honest, that is pretty much a full review. I haven't got really much footage to show you. I've been looking at a lot of stuff myself, but it's stuff I wouldn't share. Some of it's my family and stuff like that. I stand by the fact that if I do feel the image quality is not quite as good as a GoPro. And look, I'll be realistic. I still have not seen another action camera that is quite as good as a GoPro from an image quality point of view. They just always tend to have the legs a tad. So we're going to have to see. The original plan was to send it back, but I've got some stuff I need to do on it. The question is, will they take it back? We'll talk about that later. We'll have to see what happens on it. I would like to keep hold of it to be able to talk about it as it gets updated and maybe see improvements. But it is a lot of money. And it is a lot of money for a one-trick pony, and that is the problem I have with it. It is a lot of money for a one-trick pony. Section 75, yeah, it's in the UK, so I could push them. It won't be an issue. It's immaculate. There's no damage or nothing on it. It is as it is. But there is some stuff I need to finish on it. There are some things I do want to finish with it first. I don't like it. Thanks once again. Thanks, Ken. No problem at all. Already debating returning ours. Creator Cups. What? You're thinking of or thinking of not? It's never going to be on. Yeah, and that's the reality. Look, I actually think for FPV alone, I think it could be really, really interesting. But it's a lot of money for a standalone FPV camera. And that's my problem. I didn't buy it as a standalone FPV camera. I bought it as a camera to use for multiple things, including FPV. And the reality is, I'm still looking for a smaller camera. So am I then left going to buy a GoPro as well? He just wants the box for his background. Yeah. That's a good point, BB. Yeah, 100%. Great info, mate. But oh my god, racking my brain to keep it or not even take it out the box. If you're FPV only, see, remember with FPV today is what you got to. For FPV, it's really easy. Today, can you put up with 20 minutes of flight time with it? And then can you put up with 40 minutes of 4K 30? As long as you can, you're fine. That's the two number one issues for FPV today. We bought a naked GoPro for our Cine Whoop. Not a fan. No. So that's the two questions you've got to ask yourself today. For FPV, it's really easy. For people looking to buy an action camera, the question is, do you want to use it indoors? If you do, don't buy it. It's that simple. Don't buy it. If you want to use it indoors, don't buy it. Or if you want to go 4K 60, you'll get 20 minutes. Or 1440 60, you'll get about 30 minutes. 2 modules side by side would give 2096 by 4040. 2 modules side by side. It'd be a hell of a resolution. Yeah. Oh, Mike, I've not seen what Vic Moss has said about Bruce. Was this the comment about getting involved in stuff in Australia? How long when using the module? With that, you know what? I haven't... Well, the recording times are based on storage, not battery. Battery is 20 minutes off the module, but I haven't done a full recording test with that on, actually. I can't answer that one. You'll get a lot more with that from a battery point of view. So if you were to do it like that in FPV for a battery point of view, you'd get a lot more. But then you may as well buy a GoPro. To be honest, I don't see the point of it like this for FPV. I think it's too big. It's too big, too heavy. You may as well have a GoPro naked. And too much risk of damage. I'm not saying you can't, but it's quite big at that point. I also, it would have to be cased, obviously, but that's a lot of camera, isn't it? That is a lot of camera. Something I haven't really touched on as well is the mag system. The mag system is quite clever. I just wouldn't trust it. The mag system is actually really quite clever, if I'm honest. You know, you can't get away from the fact, you know, to put the models together, you just do that, it's done. Instantly. Comes apart, goes on. I wouldn't trust that to hold it on a quad, like the bracket. But it is good. But the only complaint I did have, and I think this was mentioned in some of the reviews, is I wouldn't, with the module on it, it's too easy to come off on the neck strap. It's just too easy. I took it for a walk around the beach yesterday. I got footage of the beach I could show, but it's me walking around. Whereas when it's on just the module only, it's much tighter. You know, it's I got no concerns of that at all. I walked around the beach with it like that, and it was fine. But in that mode, and I do look, the way it goes together is quite cool. There's no getting away from that fact. But yeah, it's not perfect. It's not perfect. It is a flawed action camera, a potential interesting camera for FPV. Potentially very interesting for FPV, but again, not perfect. The good thing though with FPV, as soon as we get the power will make a big difference, and then it just comes down to footage and the glass. You know, in some ways on this glass, I'm not particularly worried because, you know, someone will come out with this. Now, I have bought K Refresh for this for 2 years. This is my intention. I bought this with K Refresh for 2 years. So that was my intention. Now, if I do return it, I will not get that back. That K Refresh goes down the drain. So even if I do return it, I'm never going to get my full money back because I won't get the K Refresh back because DJI does not refund K Refresh. But, you know, it was bought with that intention. It was bought with that intention. If there's a 1-inch module, it'd be interesting for me as long as my Pocket 2 and Osmo Pocket are better than it in low light. Catching up on the chat. It's It's an outstanding alternative. Duck me squeak. So to go to 3-pinch FPV. Go to has the same problems. The AC is twice the weight, but it's a third of the weight of the GoPro 10. It's in a tricky place. It is. And has anyone naked the new DJI camera? And I've not seen a tear down. We should get one soon, though. As I said, if I got my money back, I'd be able to tear it down. If I had a second one or my money back, I'd tear it down. They should make an extension cable for the battery pack, then the BEC will solve it eventually. Yeah, it won't take long for a BEC. As I said, you can power it. For those who didn't see earlier, I will put it back up. I've already pinned it out. That's the pin out. So ground, for looking at the camera from below, ground, 5 volts. It takes 700 milliamp hour. That's all it needs. Nice and easy to do. We just need some pogo pins in a bracket. We'll be able to TPU mount this. I could do one by the end of the week. Honestly, this is simple. This isn't difficult. This isn't hard to use. This will be solved in short order. You will see Chinese companies come out with something for this in no time at all. It'll be a week or two. Seeing you're flying, I have a feeling gravity will tear it down for you. So look, it's a real shame. And again, I want to address the final bit on this all for this, which is, why are these YouTubers only looking for problems with products? Why are we always slagging products off, those of us? I had zero intention of making the video I had to make on this product. That video came from me genuinely being bloody annoyed as a result of the marketing material and as a result of the reviews, not views. I felt it was right to tell people because that is my experience. And what I felt was I had been baited and switched on this. That's how I felt about this. Now, I know some people are not having overheating issues at all, and that's fantastic, and that's great. But at the end of the day, I am entirely independent. I owe nobody anything. DJI, no one else. If they'd have sent me this to review, I promise you I would have made it clear in the review that there are some serious heat issues here that you need to be aware of. That's all it took. If the reviews had just said, you know what, this is the best little camera for taking out and about you can get. DJI have packed in some amazing technology. It's got great image quality. It does a really good job. But as a result of that, there is a compromise. And that compromise is that if you're going to use it indoors or in a static location, the camera does get really hot and it will potentially overheat and shut down, depending on the temperatures, from between 3 minutes and 12 minutes. If they'd have said just that, that would have been fine. I'd have been happy and I wouldn't have felt like we had been baited and switched on it. And that's the reality here. And again, I said it at the start of this video for those who haven't seen it. I feel that the drone press need to grow up and start treating people a bit better, and not just the drone press, the tech press, than what we're seeing. They should make it clear if they are sent a product for review, then it is a review sample, and that is the information they're providing you. I have had a few channels reach out to me and say, look, we're not paid by DJI, but we're not experiencing what you're seeing. And that's fine. But did they make it clear in their videos that what they were showing you was a pre-production sample? And that's where the issue is. We have to get away from this. Oh, DJI sent me this a month ago, and I'm going to tell you how fantastic it is. Because is this the same as the one that's ended up on the shelves? Because of firmware changes, because of differences. And we need to start seeing more clarity on, is the review paid? Is the review sponsored? Is the review entirely independent? Just to give kudos, Peter McKinnon made it clear at the start of his video it was sponsored. It was sponsored by DJI. So in Peter's video, I sat there and went, well, I take the good and the bad. You know, at the end of the day, he told us it was a sponsored video. Most of the others haven't. So the question is, how many of these have been paid to make the video? You know, I still question anyone who's made a video, spent 3 days with a film crew out making a video on a $400 action camera. Who's paying for that? If their YouTube channel is big enough, then the YouTube channel is. But you got to still take that stuff into account. You know, so I think this whole situation could have been avoided if the proper info was put out there up front and people were made aware. It wouldn't have been an issue. As I said, if the marketing said, we've compromised the design to make the smallest action camera there is, brilliant. I'd have been happy with that. I know Lon's here. I think Lon's here. Lon's not having any overheating at all. I'm assuming, Lon, it still cooks eggs, yours. I'm assuming yours still gets very, very hot. But you've got that high heat option, which we don't. Yeah, I don't look. There's no argument cameras don't overheat. You know, look at the Canon R5. We all know the debacle around that. Anyone who follows camera things, and look, the biggest problem with the Canon R5 is it was the second run. You know, it would overheat. You'd shut it down for 5 minutes, and then you only had like 2 minutes more to use it. This isn't about cameras don't overheat. I accept many other cameras overheat, but let's be honest, this overheats quicker than many other cameras. That seems to be a reality. And it offers less recording time than most people would need for, say, recording themselves doing something. My camera records 4 hours continue without overheating. Your mirrorless people can. Yeah, look, I have, and you can say mirrorless cameras overheat. There's a Panasonic GH5 that doesn't overheat. That's been one of the best mirrorless cameras there's been. Period. So, not everything does. A compromised design does, but not everything does. And again, it is, are the people made aware up front? And that is the thing. And that's what's caused a lot of the hassle here. Thing just said, drone solutions. Again, the biggest is the fact that there's no overheating option in the menu, but then now have that option locked out as soon as you activate it. Really shows how DJI are trapping customers. Yes. And I will talk about that actually, because something interesting. So I got the camera, as I've already said, used it. You can use it for 5 times before it activates. So I used it 5 minutes, 10 minutes, something like that. And I had the option, did all of that, was fine. Activated, updated the firmware, and I'm sure the option was still there at that point. The option vanished once I'd sort of closed the camera, turned it off, and turned it back on. And then the option was grayed out. Now, I'll tell you something really interesting. Yesterday, that option came back for me. The option came back after leaving it off overnight with a flat battery. The second I connected it back to the app, the option went grayed out. Now, resetting the camera settings doesn't make it appear. Those things doesn't make it reappear, but it did reappear after the battery went completely flat, which I thought was very, very interesting. But the second you connected it back to the app, boom, grayed out, gone. So it's geofenced. There's no question it's geofenced. It knows where I am, therefore it locked it down. What I assume happened was when the battery went flat, it lost where it was. And yeah, the reset, it does sound that. So yeah, you know, look, DJI, give us the option for high heat for starters. At the end of the day, give us the option. It should be for everyone. It should be there. Give us the option of it. If we want to turn it on, so be it. Let it be on us, you know. But yeah, so I have had it come back. I actually recorded the footage of that. Because the funny bit was, I was recording footage for the FPV review that I'm doing on it, which is very much what you've heard tonight. And I went to record it to show the option was missing, and it was there. And I was like, what? Hold on a minute. Why is... I'm not sure if I got the footage of that, because it's quite funny, because it might even have me a bit confused. Let me just find it, and I'll try and put it on the screen for you guys. Because it was me going, wait a minute. It's there. Why is it there? It's not meant to be there. It wasn't there before. Is it this one? Let me just find it. And it's one of those moments where your brain goes, what? Why has that happened? You can't change region. You can change language, but you can't change region. Let's just have a look. Is it this one? And if it is, I'll show you guys, because I did laugh. Because I went to do it, and I was like, oh, bugger. That's no good. Let me just see if it is, because I recorded it a couple of times. Yeah, there it is. So, just to show you guys this, look. So, this was me recording it yesterday at 11:04 a.m. Look, 11:04 a.m. yesterday. And I was like, oh, I just need to record this for the FPV. So I went down into the menu. I was trying to do it one-handed isn't easy. So I started again. So I was like, right, let's go into the menu, scroll down. Say auto temp control. Hold on a minute. It's there. What's it doing there? This isn't meant to... Hey? And I'm like, I've turned it on. Huh? I'm bloody confused. So that was... yeah, that was yesterday. So it has come back. It has come back. But it's gone again. And what I did was rebooted the camera and it was still there. So as second I connected it to the DJI app, boom. So that's the reality. So guys, that is the situation. You know, I think I've explained myself really well. I can't really say any more than that. At the end of the day, it is a compromise too far from an action camera point of view, even if it wasn't overheated. I'll be honest. Do you know what and I don't like to say this, it feels like it's been designed in an office and never taken outside, which is irony because you'd have thought it wouldn't have overheated. It looks really pretty. It's not great though as an action camera. There's no rubber on it. It doesn't stay where you put it. You know, it's aluminium. It wants to fall off anything you put it on unless it's completely flat. You know, I still don't get why there isn't like rubber bumpers on the corner. And, you know, just, you know, that wouldn't have affected heat. Little rubber bumpers on the corners. Just something to give it a bit of stability when it's on a rock. Even on this bit. You know, it really is the Apple MacBook of camera design. You know, it is... They've put everything into the design and just, you know, everything else is compromised as a result of that. The size, the weight. It could have been bigger. It could have been 10% bigger, better cooling, and it would have been fine. The size still would have been good. It is that it didn't need to be this small. It could have been deeper. It could have been a little bit heavier. It didn't need to be this compact with this many limitations. It feels like someone should have said in the design, really great, but we now need to solve those problems. And if that means making it a bit bigger, then so be it. If you get my meaning. It should not have got out in this way. Well, DJ will want to sell you rubber bumpers as an accessory set. Don't worry. Well, there is that. Yes. Yes, we all know how they work. So, yeah. That's the DJI Action 2. What a product. Fur coats, no knickers. That's a great term. That really is a great term. Would I know how durable and good those X-Wing motors are? They are my favourite motors. So, the X-Wings are what I use on all my quads. It's charging at the moment. The Xings, these are the 2450s, which are the 4S versions. Great motors. I have these on 3 of my quads. Absolutely brilliant. I use them all of the time. They are pretty much the main motor I go for every single time. I can't really praise them any more than that. Never had one fail. Never had one give me an issue. Smooth. Don't vibrate too much. What more do you want? Cheap FPV motor. They're not cheap, mind. I think they're about 14, 15 quid each. Dave Jones, hello Dave. Wait till they put the Mark III hits. They put money. There will be issues with it. There will always be issues. What you have to decide is, are the issues fundamental? And that's the problem with this one. Is I do think this should have been just stopped and gone, it's a compromise too far. Let's step back a bit and reevaluate. And that's the bit that's a shame. If I'd have beta tested that, I'd have said, don't put that out there for God's sake. That would have, my honest opinion would have been, you know what? It's great. You need to solve this cooling thing. Yeah, it's just a shame we didn't get all of the information we should have had up front. At least today, people can make an informed decision now. That's the good thing. And what it does tell you, as many times before, perhaps those of us who are going early, it's time to remember that you really should wait for the proper reviews to come out before buying it. And I am part of that world anyway, so yeah. Why do we have all these limited digital products again and again? Like the Mavic Mini 2 without the ADS-B sensor and the camera. Yeah, that's right. No audio here. It's still working my side. Please let me know, BB Junkie, if GH5 doesn't overheat. I second that. You can run it Infinium. I've literally left it on and mains power in here for days. And then you recorded for 4 hours. It just works. It's a phenomenal camera. It really is a phenomenal camera. Reloaded Steam, no audio. Guessing it's just me. No other comments. No one's mentioned it. Yes, you can return products in the UK. DJI blocked me on launch day after I mentioned on their Facebook page about overheating. Wow. Really? I'm assuming you're talking on one of the Facebook groups. I am disappointed if that's the case. I shall refrain. Is that you, Dave? Dave, Welsh Dave? Dave Jones as in, yes, okay. Dave, put your website in the chat as well. I want to talk to you about your website too. I want to put it in some of the things of the videos as well, mate. Can you send it over to me on a message? I'm going to put it in the comment section of the videos. For those who don't know, Dave is a dealer in the UK in South Wales. And he's a great guy, supplies stuff, especially DJI stuff. If you're in the UK and looking for it, hit him up. He's a very, very good man. Was that on the Action 2 page then, Dave? Okay. I am disappointed in that, but I have... okay, I have to be careful here because I used to help run those groups. At the end of the day, I don't know more. The people who do, I know some of them, they're good people. I won't comment on if I feel it was right or wrong. From that point, what I'll just say is it is disappointing when Facebook groups start to crush genuine feedback. And I understand it happens, and I know it happens by more than one manufacturer. Many manufacturers have done it. All I will say was it never happened when I was involved. It was not something that was deemed the right thing to do. You would quash multiple threads. So if there was like 10 threads popping up within 5 minutes, you just quash them down to one just to make the logistics easier to deal with. However, banning users or blocking users for genuine feedback, especially dealers, is a silly move. So Dave is South Wales Drones. If those guys don't know, he is a very good guy. Put the link in the chat, Dave. It is a silly move. The irony is, I think I wrote the rules on those groups. If you go back and look at them, there's my name attached to them somewhere. My name's all over those groups in various places. That's disappointing. That is a shame, but I'm not involved, so only admins can post links. Oh, bollocks. Have you messaged it to me, Dave? Message it to me and I'll do it that way. He has to be a mod. Oh, we're there. Where's Dave? There we go. There's an easy solution to that. There's an easy solution to that. There you go, Dave. You can do it now. Sorted. So that should solve that. Dave can be a mod for more than a minute. He's a very good guy indeed. He's a very, very, very good guy. There are many very good guys. Okay, I think that's enough on the action. We know what the score is. We now know. Really, guys, I don't know if I'm confused or not, Steve. Guys, if you've got any questions, please do put them in the chat. I'll try and answer them. A massive thank you to the guys who have given super chats tonight. I have nothing else lined up. I left it as that to talk on this camera. Can the cameras be charged without the bottom part? Yes, it can. This is the pinout for doing it. It takes 5 volts and it draws 700 milliamp hour plus minus. We haven't got any cases on that yet, but they will be coming in the future. But this does allow you to charge it. I've done the tests on the bench. It seems fine. Obviously, I've not charged it for 10 hours, but it seems okay. I'm not perceiving any issues. But that's how we charge it in use. The way it works is 700 milliamp hour, 5 volt. It will maintain the battery in recording. Milliamp hour, yeah, I need to adjust. Yes, Bruce, I need to adjust the image. Stop whinging. 700 milliamp hour. It's the same thing. It's milliamp. 700 milliamp. No, it's not 700 milliamp hour. You are correct. It's 700 milliamp of draw. Express LRS update or news about this. Okay, so as I said, I don't think DJI great or evil. No, they're not. You know, I've said this many times on this channel. Look, and Lon will know this. I am more free today to say what I think than I have been in the past. There have been periods in the past. I'm sure I modded Dave. Did I mod you, Dave? I'm sure I modded Dave. No, I know. I need to adjust it. It's milliamp. I'll adjust it later. I think I must have just written it, not thinking of it. Where is Dave? Where is he? Dave. I've lost him. Dave Jones. Sure I did. No, he's a mod. Yeah, I did do it. No, he's not in South Wales. It's easy to press it. Yes, hit the like button, guys. Let's hit the... Okay, so can you do a backpack setup guide for complete newbies? Yeah, that's something I need to look at. So, Express LRS news. Where am I at? Well. Where am I at? Where is it? Is it this one? I'm trying to work it out. No, it's not. So, I thought... I can't remember if I've converted or I need to convert. No, I haven't converted. I need to convert one of the quads. I need to convert one of the quads to Express LRS. I thought I'd done it, but I haven't. I semi-converted it and converted it because the bad receiver, and I was using it on that and it wasn't working properly. So I've got to put the new one in. So we have another EP1, which has arrived. Should we have a look? Should we have a quick look? Let me show you. Whilst you amazing people are here on the live stream, Imposter Dave, well, I'll just show you very quickly. Let me rotate and move that around. Let's do that. Let's do that. Let's do that. Woohoo. Okay. So, just to show you guys, this is the replacement. Now, you might not hear me as well. This is the replacement EP1. Now, as on the other board, it looked fine on this side. There was no issues at all. It was this side that was bad on the other board. It was the location of components, the poor soldering, and the non-soldering of one or two components as well. So if I get in and just make sure it is focused, if we just have a look around it, let me just move it. First of all, it has the correct regulator. If you don't know, there are versions of this EP1, the EP2, and the PP, I think it is, that have the wrong regulator. This regulator is rated for 300 milliamp. The wrong one is only rated for 150 milliamp, and there are issues with the receivers booting up. And they've done a firmware release to fix the issue, but it is really a hardware issue, but the firmware is a workaround, which is version 1.2. But this one does have the correct regulator. If we look around, yes, there are components that are not straight. It looks fine on the LED. That cap there isn't straight, but it is soldered properly. These two here look a little bit off. But again, everything is soldered correctly. Looking around the board, everything is okay. Now, if I just tilt it up and just adjust it to look at the QFNs, because this was an issue on my last one. However, I've already checked this one, and all of the pads are soldered fine. There are no pads at all that are not correctly soldered. Everything is good. So the quality of this one compared to the last one is better. I'm not saying there aren't components that aren't straight, because that are straight, or that are not off, because there are, but everything is soldered. Everything is in place as you'd expect. And if I flip it over, again, on this side, everything is good. Oh, we're not quite focused. Let's just get him down. But everything is as I would expect it to be, basically. So that is the replacement EP1. Sorry about the noise as I do this. It is much better. It is much better than the last one. I can't see any issues at all. The next one we're going to be looking at is I can't say it. I struggle every single time. I was watching JB's live stream earlier, and he spat it out just like that. It was like boom, instantly. But anyway, the Namimno looks much better. The Namimno. I think it's Namimno. Namimno. The Namimno looks much better. I will say that. That is looking really, really good. Now, I did see someone ask about HD0. There has been the firmware updates for the new cameras. My new camera still has not arrived. I am waiting for that to come this week. I'm hoping it arrives. It's stuck in customs at the moment. I'm also waiting for the new camera to come for the microscope as well. So that one will be here soon. But then it's going to be a game of properly setting up. I have done some flights on Express LRS and I've got no issues. It's all working as it should be. I've just now got to convert a few more quads and get that all done over to it as well. The first video on what is Express LRS is going out soon, so that one will be hitting shortly. That is the HD0 cam, BB Junkie. That is the HD0 one, but it's stuck in it is stuck in customs at the moment, so we still haven't got it. Do you mind just swiveled my EP2 to rapid fire in the HDO2s, flashed it with a backpack, looked at the next step wiki, flashing TX had to lay down. Yeah, now a backpack is really interesting. As well, the backpack function is really, really interesting. So you've just wired an EP2 to the rapid fire, which is going to give you control. Next step in the wiki, flashing TX had to lay down. What is the steps for flashing TX? I can't remember. Let's just have a look. HD0, no, not for the microscope. Sorry, no. I think it's the 33 megapixel one. Let's just search for backpack. I haven't fired up the Namimno receiver yet. Connecting to R9. Happy model. Right, so what are they saying? What's the flashing process? So it might be on the wiki, is it? Express LRS. Backpack. Let's just have a look. I'm just looking at on the wiki. Which one? The main. It's on the wiki itself, is it? Have you got a link? Oh, wait there. Have you got a Jim? I put a link in. Let me just have a look. So I'm looking at the same one. You can do it now. When it's the first time, it looks daunting. Do you know what? I haven't actually looked at the instructions yet myself. I've looked at the receiver ones. I was having to dig through, but I can't remember. Did I look at the instructions for that one specifically? Let's just have a... I'm just looking on here now. On the first time, it looks daunting. I can imagine. It is going to be interesting to see about this radio, as I was talking about earlier, guys. I'm not sure what your thoughts on this. I still don't know about this. I don't like, what I didn't say earlier on this radio is I don't like the buttons up here. I wish they'd move that out. They've got things on the shoulders. See, look, they've got these here. So why didn't they just use these and get rid of that, personally? But interesting. Very interesting. When will the new jumper radio be released? Tango 2 lookalike. This one, we don't know. There's been no... I don't think there's been a date. It's been held back. Chip shortage is... For those who don't know, the chip shortage is a major problem right now. Is Dave still a mod, lol? Yeah, I think he is. Ah, you do run a large Facebook group. Right. Wrong Dave, sorry, but I do run a large Facebook group. Inspired by the Tango 2. Yeah, I've sorted that. It's interesting. It is interesting. It's interesting. TBS... It is very much, isn't it, Bruce? Yeah, it's certain. Look, that's all FPV. This all end of it here is DJI FPV drone. Yeah, it was the GitHub wiki. Those are a lot of buttons and dials. It's a lot of buttons and dials on a little radio. Although the plastic looks cheap as hell from there. Can you see that? I don't know if this is an early molding, but there's like lines down there in the plastic. It looks very cheap. Very cheap. It could be a 3D print. Yeah, it could be it could even be an early production run. So I would hope It's just, you know, when you look, I can see it down there. It's interesting. TBS are getting it at all angles at the moment, and it is going to be interesting to see what they do, because, you know, look, you're going to have you got these little radios coming up. You know what we got? We got the T-Lite. It's the T-Lite, isn't it? Let's just jump. Jumper RC. So we've got, you got the T-Lite. Is there just one model of the T-Lite? I'm trying to remember. Yeah, so we got the T-Lite, obviously, which is directly competing with them. We've then got jumper. Oh, bloody! I forgot the name of the company. Someone remind me. Come on, someone put it there. Different protocol boards. Okay, who's the other one that's making it? Radio Master. That's it. I couldn't think of Radio Master then. Radio Master must have a website, surely. Unless it's classed as Hobby King. They must have a website. Here we go. So we've got Radio Master. What have they got? The T18 Lite. Is that it? T8 Lite. I think it is, isn't it? Yeah, you got that. So we got this, and we've now got this. They have the T-Lite and a new one that's just 39 quid without an LCD. Is there? So we got the T8 Lite without an LCD, which is Radio Master. T8 Pro, which is the with the LCD, which is the top-mounted one, isn't it? We've got the Jumper T-Lite. There isn't another one, is there? Let's just have a look. No, there's... In fact, it's not even on that list. Why is it... It's... Yeah, it's just the T-Lite. These are all really cheap radios. And then we've got this new one coming, which... The Jumper radio is better for fixed wing because it has the trim levers and the Radio Master has no trim buttons. Yes. Yes. That makes a lot of sense, Bruce. If we look at that, yeah, you can see you got the trims there. Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. And proper switches. Look at that. I like that. Proper switches as well. Yes. We like that. Okay, we've got proper switches here, but that's proper switches. Look at that. Don't know what the quality is, but yeah, it is £10 no internals. You know, it's going to be a difficult time for TBS because we've got Express LRS literally growing by the second, expanding by the second. More and more hardware manufacturers getting on board every minute. And now we have more and more cheap radios, more radios like this. If the Mambo is popular, which I suspect it has been, I think the Mambo's done pretty well. I really like the Mambo. I can see one of them ripping the Mambo off as well. Big style. I can really see Jumper or Radio Master ripping into the machine and back to the start. Hiya, Jeff. How you doing? No problem at all, mate. Hiya, Gary. Hope you're safe and well. But it is going to be interesting. It's going to be interesting to see how TBS get on. Now, let's just jump over to this. He shared it with me. Let's have a look at the backpack. So the wiki. So, flashing the module. Flashing the TX. As you download master, select your TX type. Backpack code is not yet available, so you need to flash the master branch. Okay, so oh yeah, that looks interesting. That's something I'm gonna need to spend a bit more time looking at. That's for sure. Now, guys, we are heading towards 2 hours. If you've got any questions, please do put them in the chat and I will try and answer them. Gotta love a good toggle. Yeah, it is an interesting one, isn't it, TBS? Where did TBS go? Where do they end up with it? Where do... I guess he's ripped into the new camera. I've discussed my thoughts on the new camera earlier on. It's going to be interesting to see what Trappy does. You know, as I said, I put out in that clip in the week, I think he should start making Express LRS hardware, personally. That's my thoughts, but no. Now, guys, I think if there's no questions, and I'm going to give it 5 minutes, I'm going to read down the chat, I'm going to thank everyone for watching, and then we're going to call it a night. Now, but I might keep it. It's crap I'm saying it about. I think this is more of... Okay, the decision I have to make is this. Do I just persevere and make as much content about it as I can? Might get close to getting some of my money back. But I don't know. One last thing I will talk about, let me grab a drink, is the DJI affiliate scheme. For those who don't know, it has reappeared. Okay? Without any fanfare, but I spotted someone posting some links. And I was like, that's interesting. And then I hopped along and went, oh, it's back alive again. It's carrying on. Now, I haven't been officially told on this, but it appears it is. Now, I have done nothing because I've been having a think of what my intention is with this. Now, I will be honest. The scheme has been very good to me over the years and the ability to be able to buy and review products because you guys using the links have allowed us to be able to do it. However, I need to do it differently and do it in such a way that I feel is fair and right. And what I'm thinking is this, is that on any product review, I do not add an affiliate link. And affiliate links would only be added if it was like an informational content. So, for instance, I could easily put the affiliate links on all of my DJI FPV content apart from the first one that was a review based on that concept. So the ones where I talk about how to upgrade the firmware, the updates, and all the stuff like that, you could put it in place. But then if I was sitting here saying, right, here's the new Osmo Action, I'm going to tell you what's good and bad, but do not provide an affiliate link on that review. So I'm trying to decide what to do because it is a way users who want to buy the product still, you know, look, I personally would have no issues stripping off the first bit of this live stream as a review, uploading it and saying, here's an affiliate link, make your own mind up. And because I've given all of the balance on that. At the end of the day, I can't give any more balance on that than I have. Do you know what I mean? So at the end of the day, if you're going to purchase it, there's a link there if you want to do it. However, if I want to be completely squeaky clean, then I say no affiliate links on product reviews. Because I have a really simple... I've written up, and I've taken this actually from a couple of other channels of what they've done and listened to what they've said, and I have a really simple concept on this, right? A review is a product that you've either been sent or bought. I have no issues with you being sent it, where the manufacturer has not seen the video before the video has gone live, and there is no financial payment for making that video. If you are paid to make a video, it is not a review, it is a showcase. It is a sponsored ad. So if you're paid, and I'll be clear, I have never been paid to make a video, then you have to say it's not a review. It's that simple. It's not a review. Now, it then gets a bit more difficult when you're sent something to review that you know you're going to be allowed to keep. And I think that's still a review as long as you make it clear that you were sent it up front and you're going to be able to keep it. And I'll be honest, I haven't always declared that because it's not something I've thought about. In the sense of, for instance, the FPV cameras from Runcam. I've had a few, one from Runcam, two from Runcam now. They've not asked for them back. I've not assumed that, but that's not influenced my review. You know, I've not sat here and said because they're letting me keep it, there we go. But it's a tough one. And the other thing is, and this is the weird one, is everyone likes to hate on the people who use affiliate links, but if they're used properly, then it shouldn't be an issue. And I've always tried to be as genuine as I can with it. GMI, what's GMI said? And giving their opinion of it. Yeah, I would love... do you know what? That is the ultimate position to be in. I would love to be completely independent and say to manufacturers... No, well, the problem is you can't always buy stuff before it's released. And that's where you've got to be careful. And that's where I've sort of put releases in my head now of things like... So, I've been sent this. I'm going to talk to you about it. What I have here is a pre-release. This is what I've got. Everything I've got is based on this. And I've said that with a lot of the stuff over the years. That's why my cousin does it, because he has almost 2 million subs. My cousin does, because he had... You know, I would love to be... Some stuff you always have to... It's not that you have to buy it, because there's some stuff you said, look, can you have a look at this new camera? It's coming out on next Thursday. We'll send it to you, and it arrives on Wednesday. And you get like a day to put the video out. That's usually how it goes. You say stuff is crap, but buy it through my affiliate link anyway. Yeah, and I'm not against doing it that way. I'm not against doing that. But I will be clear, the affiliate scheme is back up and running from the looks of it. It was, at least. Let me just check. It was when I looked the other day. Just have a look. Yes, it is. Yes, it does appear to be up and running. Pepsi Max bad but good. Yes, Pepsi Max is very bad but good. It might be. It might be. I trust you, I do not. Yeah, I bet he does. I bet he does. And I've never not said what I thought as a result of even the affiliate links. You know, I'd be more than happy to put this video up and say, there's the video I said where I told you what I felt about it, how I feel about the thing, the plus, the bad, the negatives, and say, you make the choice. You make the decision. I may test that with the FPV review and see what people say. Is it worth considering? Yes. Is it perfect? No. It's based on your workflow. You make the decision. You know. It is a tough one. Yeah, Lon, the FPV drone is a very... and this has always been the frustration for me, because look, I was one of the only people who published how much I received one year in affiliate income. I actually published it one year. There's no point publishing this year because it's tiny, because the scheme ended. But yeah. The DJI hand warmer with built-in camera functionality. Welcome to the new DJI hand warmer. I do like that. Today we're going to review the new DJI hand warmer with the addition of a built-in 4K 120 frames a p camera. It's a tough one. In some ways, it is important to be able to use these schemes because people who do use them do provide valuable income. That's just a reality. That is just a reality. I would not have been able to upgrade many of the products I have in the past without that. I assume it's working. Let's just have a look. I don't know, actually. I'm not so sure. I am not so sure if this is, actually, I am really not so sure. You just check something. Yeah, that's in. I'm not convinced. Oh, yeah, camera quality is horrendous. I don't know if you saw, my comments on the DJI FPV drone lawn is the camera quality is shocking. It's so noisy, it's ridiculous. Horrid. It just looks terrible. It is really poor. It does. The second I flew it, don't get me wrong, the live stream image quality is amazing. And it is amazing. The live stream image quality is fantastic. It is just unbelievable. But the recording image is just compromised. It is like the best live FPV stream image quality I have ever seen. Thanks, BR Hacker. Thank you very much. I really do appreciate the comments. I sold 2 acronyms just to get rid of it. What does my... Well, that's an interesting story. Okay, well, that goes back a long, long time. It really doesn't mean anything. I started it very long time ago as I used to be a very, very big fisherman, carp angler, in fact, and I used to fish all over the place. And I over the years, I'd set myself up on varying forums, and I just ended up as Mad Angler 1 because I was a mad angler. I fished as every hour of the day I could, anywhere I could, for everything, and it started as Mad Angler. And when I started doing this stupid thing, for some reason, I just took the Mad with me. And look, this all stems originally from Mad RC. The channel was originally called Mad RC. In fact, the link to the channel still is Mad RC because once you set that, you're stuffed. You can't change it. I don't think you can change it. And it was Mad RC for a very long time. You go back on the old videos, it's there on the logo on the front. But I started having more and more stuff which wasn't drone related at one point, so I went with Mad's Tech, and it was meant to actually be Mad's Technology, but the reality is it's more now Mad's Technical because we've been going a bit more into the technical stuff. So I've sort of grown into that name a bit more now, and I'm happier with it. There was a period I was wanting to go back to Mad RC. I'll be honest, I was like, oh, we'll leave it at that. But yeah, but it just comes from a handle that I gave myself, an avatar I gave myself a very, very long time ago. Started as Mad Angler and moved on from there, really. And that's how we ended up where it is today. With the incorrect spelling as well on the channel, which I need to correct. Mad Angler on DJI Forum. Yeah, I was Mad Angler on DJI Forum, Mad Angler on RC Groups. Where I've been around for quite a long time, as Lon and a few others know. But yeah, it spans back a very long time. You know, I think probably 20 years, if I'm honest. Yeah, so that explains where that comes from. It's just like all of these things, and it's sort of just stuck, really, more than anything. It's a cute name. So, I think that's it, guys. Now, let me just check at the top. Let me just do something before my screen is moved. I need to get another monitor, you know. Okay, guys. That is it for this one. I'd like to thank you all for spending some time with me on a Sunday night once again. Next week, I will be at 9 p.m. UK time, and we will be whatever that is, wherever you are. So that will be half an hour after I started. We'll be 9. Tomorrow night, I am actually popping on to Geek Varna's live stream over with Sean. He's asked me very kindly to come over and discuss this thing a bit more with his audience, because Sean and me have had some of the same issues. And then Tuesday, all being well, I don't think there's anything going to stop me this week, like it was the Finger Week. We will be there with Gary and the team. He's here somewhere. There he is. There's Gary. Is there any news this week yet, Gar? Actual news other than this thing, but it's not really drone news, is it? So I really appreciate you guys spending some time with me. It was another good stream. Really enjoyed it. At the end of the day, it's an opinion. You'll agree with it. You won't. What you can't say to someone is they're holding it wrong. And that's really what this comes down to. If you're interested in getting one, I'll put an affiliate link in the description. See what I did there. And you can place an order. Other than that, please stay safe, look after yourself, and I will speak to you guys again soon. Now, where is the button? Where is the button? It's here somewhere. I'll have the Maverick free in hand next Friday. That's new. That's news to me. I won't. That's for sure. Stay safe, guys. I'll speak to you soon.